Welcome to this explainer. Look, let's jump straight into a hard geopolitical reality that we really just can't ignore. In a highly unpredictable world where alliances are constantly shifting, power ultimately dictates peace. It really comes down to the fact that a nation's safety relies entirely on the sheer strength, the scale, and the undeniable deterrence of its defense arsenal. And on May 1st, while a lot of the world was actually kicking back for Labor Day, India's Defense Research and Development Organization, you probably know them as DRDO, was hard at work on the shores of Odisha. They successfully tested a long-range anti-ship missile that fundamentally shifts the strategic balance in the entire region. So let's dive right in and unpack exactly what this massive hypersonic leap means for both global and regional security.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at global power dynamics, then decode the hypersonic anatomy. After that, we'll check out the elite club, dig into the specs and regional strategy, and finally look at the complete naval arsenal.
Section 1. Global Power Dynamics. In today's volatile climate, alliances can literally flip overnight. Relying purely on others just isn't a sustainable long-term security strategy anymore. Your ultimate safety net is the highly visible strength of your own domestic defense arsenal. And on that May 1st holiday, DRDO proved exactly that right from the coast of Odisha. They tested a brand new long-range anti-ship missile, locking onto a target a staggering 1,500 kilometers away, and absolutely nailed it with pinpoint accuracy right on schedule. This definitely wasn't just a routine test. It was a massive boost to their strategic deterrence. It basically announced to the rest of the world that India's defensive reach has exponentially expanded.
Moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of a Hypersonic Missile. Now, you might be wondering, what actually makes this specific weapon so terrifying to modern air defenses? Like, why is hypersonic the absolute ultimate buzzword in modern warfare? Well, to get it, we have to look at the older tech. Traditional ballistic missiles, they fly incredibly fast, but they go way, way up into the atmosphere. Because they go so high, modern enemy radar spots them almost immediately. That gives air defense systems plenty of time to run the math and shoot them down. Then you have cruise missiles. They solve that radar problem by flying super low and weaving around unpredictably. The catch? They're quite a bit slower. So once they finally are spotted, they become pretty vulnerable.
So here's the absolute game changer. Hypersonic technology is literally the ultimate combination of both. By definition, a hypersonic missile flies at Mach 5 or higher, but, and this is absolutely crucial, it does so while maintaining that low-altitude flight path and the ability to maneuver and change targets mid-flight. Because it stays so low, radar just can't see it until it's practically right on top of you, and because it's moving at such extreme speeds, by the time the radar actually pings it, enemy warships or air defenses just do not have the physical reaction time to track and intercept it.
And just look at this number, Mach 10. The missile DRDO just tested doesn't just barely scrape past the Mach 5 threshold. Reports say it peaks at up to 10 times the speed of sound. To put that into perspective for you, India's famously formidable BrahMos missile is a supersonic weapon, and that tops out around Mach 3. Enemy air defenses already struggle immensely to stop the Mach 3 BrahMos. Trying to shoot down a highly maneuverable missile screaming in a Mach 10? Yeah, that is considered nearly impossible for current modern warships and air defense grids.
Section 3, the Elite Hypersonic Club.
Now, let's zoom out for a second. This technology is so incredibly complex that only a highly exclusive group of nations actually has it. We are talking about a very elite club. If we look at the current roster, the United States is developing the Dark Eagle with a 2,700-kilometer range, but it's still in testing. Russia has the Zircon, flying at Mach 8 to 9, which is already deployed. And China claims to have the land-based CJ-1000 along with their sea-based anti-ship hypersonic missiles already deployed. With this successful test, India is not just entering an arms race, it is pulling up a chair at this highly exclusive table as the next major power to wield this cutting-edge capability.
Section 4. Specs and Regional Strategy.
Okay, let's look under the hood. What are the actual specs of this thing? It weighs in at 12 tons. It's 13 meters long with a 1.3-meter girth, and it uses an incredibly advanced air-breathing scramjet engine to keep up those insane hypersonic speeds while carrying a highly destructive conventional warhead. This whole marvel of engineering was developed by DRDO's Advanced Systems Laboratory and built by Bharat Dynamics Limited. And what's really cool is it's designed for both the Navy and the integrated rocket forces, meaning you can launch this beast from a warship out at sea or from a mobile launcher right on land.
But the real magic number here, the jaw-dropper, is 1,500 kilometers. When you combine Mach 10 speed with a 1,500-kilometer reach, the geographical advantage it hands to India is just absolutely staggering.
Think about the geography for a second.
If India places these land-based launchers on the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, or all the way down south in Kanyakumari, it essentially creates this impenetrable 1,500-kilometer shield. From those strategic vantage points, the missile's range completely blankets the Bay of Bengal. It guarantees that absolutely no adversary warship can enter or operate in those waters without being right in the crosshairs of a weapon they simply cannot outrun.
Plus, it completely eliminates the whole concept of a safe haven. Historically, if we look back to the 1971 conflict, the Indian Navy heavily bombarded the port of Karachi. Learning from that, the Pakistani Navy adapted and developed a strategy of moving their frigates to distant ports like Gwadar or Ormara to hide them far out of range. But now, with a 1,500-kilometer hypersonic missile launched from the coast, hiding is mathematically impossible. Those distant ports are suddenly well within the threat envelope.
Section 5. Complete Naval Arsenal.
It's really vital to step back and see the bigger picture here. This hypersonic leap doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It sits right on top of an already massive, highly complex naval web. India already has submarine-launched ballistic missiles like the K-4, K-5, and K-6. They've got ship-launched weapons like the indigenous Danush and the Israeli Lora. Their anti-ship game includes everything from American Harpoons and French Exocets to the BrahMos. And for air defense, they are packing systems like Barak, Igla, and the Astra Mk1. This new hypersonic missile, it's basically the crown jewel sitting on top of an immensely powerful, multi-layered defensive shield.
And DRDO isn't just focused on the massive long-range stuff either. Alongside this massive hypersonic test, they also successfully tested a short-range, helicopter-launched naval anti-ship missile. This one is a subsonic weapon, cruising at Mach 0.8 with a 55-kilometer range. Weighing in at 380 kilograms, it's designed to be fired right from a Dhruv helicopter. It's a perfect example of how India is comprehensively upgrading its naval capabilities across the entire spectrum, from quick, close-range tactical skirmishes all the way up to massive, long-range strategic deterrent.
Which brings us to a final, really fascinating thought. The sources note that DRDO is actually already planning to extend this new hypersonic missile's range from 1,500 kilometers to a staggering 3,500 kilometers. Think about that for a second. When a weapon that literally cannot be stopped can suddenly reach targets 3,500 kilometers away in just a matter of minutes, how is that going to completely rewrite the rules of deterrence in the Indo-Pacific? It is a massive geopolitical shift, and for sure something we all need to keep our eyes on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this helped you map out the rapidly changing face of global defense.